Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Michael Anderson Show. It is your host with the most, Michael Anderson. It's 5 in the morning. I'm here to talk at you. Don't forget to click that notification button if you want to get updates on videos that I upload. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video if you like the subject and how I talked about it, okay? So, here's the deal. So the Boy Scouts of America have officially changed their name from Boy Scouts of America to Scouts of America. Now the Girl Scouts of America have actually stayed the same, and they are still gender or sex based. It's never been based on gender. It's always been on sex, right? So what is in between your legs? However, they wanted to change it to make it more inclusive, okay? And by more inclusive, they just mean anything that goes against masculinity, basically, and kowtowing to I'm not going to get into social justice warrior bashing because that's really not what this is about. But they're basically kowtowing to the social justice warrior left-wing guilt causes, and this has had some very, very serious repercussions. If anyone didn't know, I grew up in the LDS Church. I was born into the Mormon Church. I'm actually still a Mormon technically because I'm still in their system. I don't personally go to church and I am not religious, okay? However, what a lot of people don't know is that the Mormon Church actually represents 60%. So 60%, as far as I'm aware, 60% of all of the Boy Scouts are actually Mormons. And the Mormon, that's 425,000 members. I mean, the Mormon Church makes the Boy Scouts millions and millions of dollars. And the Mormon Church officially decided to separate themselves from the Boy Scouts of America. Now, this started this actually started a while ago, years ago, when they decided to start having openly gay leaders. And here's my thing. I don't really personally care if there's a Boy Scout leader that is openly gay. That's really not a concern of mine. I do think that your sexual orientation should be something that is kind of left out of it. That's not really the point of Boy Scouts. Whether or not you like women or men, the point is to become a more adept male, basically, with the type of things that look, I was in the Boy Scouts. I didn't complete all the programs, so I know that a lot of it is like nature stuff, tying knots, all shooting, all that jazz, okay? So being more adept in rural activities, to be honest with you, that's a lot of it, and learning how to develop as a man, and it's a very great program. But the fact that they're following on this route has definitely drawn the ire of the Mormon Church. And like I said, it started with the Mormon Church obviously does not tolerate, gays, which is, it's very common in a lot of different religions. I wouldn't say tolerate. They tolerate. They're not hate-filled people. If you ever met Mormons, they're actually very nice, generally speaking, and they're not hate-filled. They're not going to force or cram their opinion down their throat. They're going to talk to you, okay? Unlike, there's a lot of religions that are not exactly like that, but the Mormons in particular, and this is my own personal bias aside, are actually pretty welcoming nowadays, especially in the modern era. But the fact that the Boy Scouts are willing to snub the Mormon Church really says something. That is very interesting. You're literally shooting yourself in the foot. Because here's the thing. They gained maybe 4,000 members when they changed their name from Boy Scouts of America to Scouts of America. And I'm wondering if this inclusivity is even going to be worth it for them. Why would you make that sort of sacrifice? Is it really that important, or is there something a little more underhanded here? Is there something more underhanded here? And by that I mean, I believe that there are people on the left that get power in institutions that are fundamentally American, that are fundamentally a part of American identity, especially rural identity. And I would say, my own personal opinion, white rural identity, things they like, NASCAR, the NFL, these kind of things. And you saw this in the NFL, where you have these organizations that encourage ideals that absolutely absolutely go against the general culture of the rural communities. And by that I mean, rural communities definitely consider men and women separate, and they are, in fact, separate sexes. You're only going to find this sort of left gender-bending mixing of different genders in the cities. A lot of times. It's mostly in the cities, maybe in some suburbs, but it's interesting. I think that they actually get into these institutions to make policy changes that are specifically destructive. And I think they do that because they like to destroy the foundation of rural America. And part of rural America, Boy Scouts, is so important. This is going to be devastating to them. I have no idea why they would make this decision. They're going to lose 425,000 members, and the Mormon Church is going to focus on building their own sort of, faith-based Boy Scout type thing, which, hey, it's fine. Freedom of association in this country, okay? I do think this is interesting. And I'm wondering where this goes for the Boy Scouts, especially the Girl Scouts, because I am really not aware of how many Girl Scouts are Mormon. I imagine it's fairly a high percentage, but I wonder if the Girl Scouts go the same direction and other organizations, faith-based organizations, pull out. Will the Girl Scouts learn from what happened at the Boy Scouts, or will they make the same mistake? Or is it in fact an actual mistake, and is this intentional? And is the reason behind this simply to sort of break down these fundamental, iconic institutions of classic America? Okay, so Americana. Okay, I kind of think that might be what it is. Of course, I don't have any evidence of that. That's my personal opinion. You can see the LDS, if you go to the Mormon Church, Twitter page, they were talking about this, and I was reading some of the tweets, and I thought some of them were very interesting. Some of them were talking about how there was people who said, "Oh, I'm in the Mormon Church. I'm familiar with this decision to separate from the Boy Scouts of America, and the reason behind it has nothing to," this is what other people are saying, "the reason behind it has nothing to do with the fact that the Mormon Church is upset about their new decision to change the name from Boy Scouts of America to Scouts of America, and the point behind that was obviously so girls could join it, even though girls already have Girl Scouts of America." It makes no sense. Again, this was not I don't understand. It's not about girls joining. It's about removing gender entirely, because that is part of the sort of globalist mentality. That's what they want to do. That's their goals and their actual agenda. I do believe that. And I'll tell you something about that, by the way. I'm going to get into this. This whole removing of gender thing, this really isn't about gender. It's actually about brainwashing people, and I can actually explain that in detail. I'm going to do that in another video. How the left's agenda is not really crazy. It's really not crazy. It's actually about destroying the identity of Americans so they can rebuild it in their own image. And there's a lot more to it. There's a lot more to it that you guys might be interested to hear. So I'd like to get your guys' take on this. What do you think? Do you think that the Mormons should separate from the Boy Scouts because the Boy Scouts are going to be changing to a sort of gender inclusive Scouts, which, again, we all know what gender inclusive really means. It means a watering down of masculinity. That's what it means. It really means that. Because have you noticed that anytime they want to talk about gender inclusivity, it's always anti-masculine. Anti-masculinity. Now, I am not a male activist by any standards. Most of them get on my nerves. They're very, very odd people, and they view themselves in this sort of really pathetic way, like they're really victims of women. You know what I mean? It's just not the case. That's my own personal opinion, right? Like, be a man. If you feel like you're a victim, stand up, defend yourself if you don't like the way someone's treating you. That's why I don't like male feminists. But they do have a point. Do you guys think that this is an attack on masculinity? Do you think that the Mormon Church should have separated from the Boy Scouts? Or do you think they just should have, gone along with it? After all, there's still going to be boys there. They're still going to learn the same things. And the Mormons don't actually have to put any of their girls in there. They don't have to, and I imagine they would make that decision. So I want your guys' opinion. What do you think? My personal opinion is, I think it was probably the right decision to do. The Boy Scouts don't really seem to be heading in a direction that goes along with Mormon values. And for me, if I was the Mormons, which I grew up in a Mormon, I know how they think, I know what their beliefs are, I would have separated as well. That would have been my decision. That would be me. But hey, that's my opinion. Anyhow, you guys, this is Michael Anderson, your host with the most. I thought this was interesting, how the Boy Scouts shot itself in the foot. 425,000 members, 60% of all of the Boy Scouts, gone. Links in the description below. Don't forget to check me out on Twitter. Link in the description below for that. Maybe not right now, but there will be one later. I will talk to you guys later. Toodles, and have a great day. Bye.